Good evening, Fantasy Nation. Week 8 was the week of unexpected heroes. Tyler Huntley looked like a competent starter. Tucker Kraft was a tight end god, and James Cook had a historic game. We're analyzing performances from this past weekend. Let's start the Week 8 recap now.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't follow no script. I make my own lane. Got a spreadsheet mind and a red rash brain. Dynasty beats got that tape in my veins. While they drafting by names, I'm exposing their game. No cap. We study the craft like film room rats. Gyms in the fourth while they stuck in the past. It's levels to the dynasty. Keep or flex. From rookies to pros, we demand and respect. That's real. And I ain't never need clout for my clout to show. Just a mic I take and a team I grow. This ain't just picks, it's principle G. It's fourth in fantasy where you build your legacy. We 10 toes down, yeah, we stand.
We're 10 toes down and we stand on facts. My name is Hancho, and this is my guy.
Siriaco, call me Rocco.
And welcome back to another episode of Fourth and Fantasy. Hope you're doing well tonight. Rocco, how you doing, my guy?
Oh man, I'm doing fan-fucking-tastic. I won my third jersey in 4 weeks. So I have a brand new Jonathan Taylor jersey coming my way. And yes, I am a Saints fan, but Jonathan Taylor won me so much money last year. I have to honor one of my favorite players.
Yeah, it makes it hurt my soul a little bit, losing by literally 0.04%. People brought their best games this past week. Shout out to everyone that did play. And once again, if you can win yourself a free NFL jersey by going and downloading League Champ in the Google Play Store and Apple Store, you can find the links in the YouTube description. You can also join our free Discord where you can get your trade advice, dynasty advice, redraft advice, and just talk ball with some of the best in the community. We are growing, and shout out to everybody who has joined the Discord as of late. And make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate all the support. This towards the end of the month makes almost a year that Fourth and Fantasy has been shooting and doing our thing. It has been a fun, exciting year to one bring the vibes, bring y'all our takes, bring the football vibes, and stand behind it with Fourth and Fantasy finishing in the top three of rankers of Week 8. Shout out to everyone who did play. But this past week was BYE-Megadon with six teams not having a game, which was the most that we will see for the 2025 NFL season. And damn it, did we have to pivot from injuries that happened before the game and in the games going forward for the rest of the NFL fantasy season that could have honestly a lot of implications going for a lot of teams. Rocco, how are we making of this NFL season, man? I feel like this by far to date has to be one of the worst seasons when it comes to injuries. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I hear people talking about, um, this is, we just noticed because, um, you know, fantasy football and
Hmm.
we're just more hyper aware with all the social media. But I can't remember a year where there was so many high level players that got hurt, across all positions. And
No.
it starts at the quarterback position. I mean, all of the late sits in games this past week, we thought Lamar Jackson was back. He wasn't.
No.
Um, Michael Penix was out, and this has a cascading effect. It affects the whole offense that they support. Marcus Mariota, I think Jaden Daniels would have had a little bit better shot of scoring some points on Monday night. But yeah, just across all positions. And this year is more than ever a year where you need that quality depth. That's what we preach here. Don't be satisfied with a sexy starting lineup, because odds are that starting lineup is not going to last all year. And if you're not constantly churning the bottom of your roster, finding ways to add talent, then when you do have a player go down, everybody sees you coming from a mile away. And knows you have a need and gonna hold your feet to the flame and try to extract as much value as they can from you in a trade and hold their players hostage. So hopefully you've been seeking out that depth before you had a need, but it's bad out here.
It's bad out here. And once again, congrats to that boy Rocco for finishing as the number one ranker. We love to keep it in the Fortune Fantasy family. Keep it up, my G. And hopefully I got you this week coming up in week 9 to get
Man,
myself
you
a jersey.
man, you were leading. Basically, it's you and another guy. His initials are BH. It was you, BH, and the Nard Dog until Monday night. I think the game script got Nard Dog because our friend Addy, who's the proprietor and founder of League Champ, he needed a shootout in Monday night's game to really make hay. I guess he had a lot of guys ranked highly from that game.
Yeah.
But only the Chiefs really scored points in that game. So I think that's what took him out of the running, and he fell off a little bit. Then it was basically a two-person race between you and BH. And I just kind of kept creeping in a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And I think what got me the win was eventually Rashee Rice landed right at number 2.
Yeah. That's exactly where I had him.
And that's where I had him.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Maybe it was one of the other auxiliary players, but basically when Rashee Rice landed at 2, I think that's when I think I won I beat you by like 0.004, and I beat the next guy by like 0.002.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did not expect that. Honestly, I was
Strong.
just pulling for you the whole time. I did not think I could come back like that. But
Good shit,
yeah,
man.
real cool.
Yeah, good
I'm
shit.
starting to fill my my closet with so many damn jerseys.
Yeah, I like
Wow.
it. And I need to get me. Listen, I need to get myself on some of them. But let's recap some of these performances, starting with the quarterbacks. Which honestly, I will say I did have a good few of them in the top 10 projected out from my rankings. There were some outliers that made their or crept, as we can say, their way into the top 10. But let's start with QB1 of the week. Jordan Love against the Pittsburgh Steelers had 28.3 fantasy points, having 3 passing touchdowns and 360 yards. And we know majority of that came from Mr. Tucker Kraft himself, as he went
Mhm.
absolutely crazy. I did not have Jordan Love on my list of candidates for QB1s of the week. Damn, did he turn out a great performance. Honestly, we were talked about it when we talked about it on the Morning Rush show. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers and this being a revenge game. But damn, who knew that Jordan Love was going to say, "Listen here, old man, this is what they replaced you with, and sit your ass down somewhere." How did you feel about Jordan Love's QB1 performance from week 8?
I mean, he was awesome. He was like really good. He was super accurate. I think he completed like 12 passes in a row, which hasn't really been what we think about when we think about Jordan Love. I usually think of him as more of a gunslinger,
Mm-hmm.
especially from that first year when he started after Rodgers was traded. He had a really good year. Yet last year was more injury ravaged, and it was more of a Josh Jacobs year. But he's been really good. I mean, 250 yards plus in 3 out of the last 4 games, 2 300-yard games. Thrown in there. So he's been really good. I mean, and you look at his season overall, 13-2 TD to interception ratio. So I think they've kind of tried to coach some of that gunslinger mentality out of him. And I mean, he's been awesome. I mean, this is the guy we thought we were drafting a couple of years ago after that rookie, not rookie, but that
Mm-hmm.
first year starting. So yeah, I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's kind of creeping into that top 10 type of conversation right now.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly in my rank, because I think I had him in the high teens. I thought he wasn't going to have a shitty performance, but I didn't have him having that kind of performance against the Steelers defense. So
Uh,
shout out to Love
well,
for that.
well, on that point, I mean, the Steelers defense, I think, is part of the problem there because, I mean, I think they're more name than game at this
At this
point.
point, yeah.
We all saw what Flacco did to him a couple weeks ago. He went up and down the field. They couldn't do anything to stop him, and now it's back to back weeks of them uh, doing that, having that kind of performance. So Pittsburgh is not the scary defense that they were in years past. This is definitely not your props steel curtain right now, and so sneakily, they might be a team to invest in games and rankings because a lot of their games might shoot out because that now they got a quarterback that can kind of run with other teams and their defense has fallen off big time. So that might be a team to invest in, uh, for fantasy goodness.
Yeah, I definitely feel that one, my G. And then when we're looking at these quarterbacks, the rest of these quarterback rankings from week 8, I can't not talk about Drake May, who continues to show that he's having one of the best sophomore years out of that QB class that came in with him, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's a Jaden Daniels. Hell, could even throw Bo Nix in there. Drake May is leading the New England Patriots. I believe they can finally say they have their franchise quarterback. They have the guy that can lead them as long as he stays healthy. Because he finished QB2, 27.3 fantasy points. He did it through the air. He'll sometimes take off. I think, honestly, when I'm looking at Drake May, he makes the overall offense better. He and it's not like he's playing with an all-star wide receiver type group. We look at Stephon Diggs, he's been serviceable. You look at Sean Booty, and honestly,
Bodie.
Booty, he is. It almost makes Brian Kelly from LSU look even worse because he had this man playing slot. I know Booty got in trouble at LSU, but nevertheless, he's showing that he had potential this whole time. And he's also having a mini breakout to go along with Drake May. So honestly, with what they want to do, whether it's slightly run the ball, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Gashawn Booty, you have Hunter Henry to throw in there sometimes. Travion Henderson got a little bit of burn in this previous game, so that was fun to see. But looking at the rest of the quarterback rankings from week 8, Justin Herbert, QB3, Jalen Hurts, QB4, Patrick Mahomes, QB5. I had him as my QB2 for the week. Bo Nix, QB6, Joe Flacco, QB7, Tua, QB8. That's the one that threw me off. I didn't expect him to have the performance that he did against the Atlanta Falcons. Nevertheless, the Atlanta Falcons looked boring. They didn't have their starting quarterback, Michael Penix. They didn't have Drake London. He was ruled a late game scratch before the game started kicked off. So they really just had Bijan. And Bijan let a lot of people down. I won't say he let a lot of people down, just the game script was didn't go his way. When you're looking at that top 10 of quarterbacks with Josh Allen, QB9, Daniel Jones to round out that QB10 for those 10 quarterbacks. How do you feel? How did you feel about the overall quarterback performance, and what guys do you think saved your week?
Um, you know, it's getting harder and harder to poo poo on Danny Dimes. I mean, week in and week out, he's a
Nice,
top
baby.
10, top 5 quarterback, and uh, yeah, I mean the vibes are good with that team. So yeah, my guy Anthony Richardson. he is a thing of the past in Colts land. I think pretty soon we're gonna see an extension for Danny Dimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's gonna be, if not the long term solution there, I think he's gonna get a multi-year contract there. He makes that team go there. Him and Jonathan Taylor, obviously, who's the MVP, at least in fantasy, if not the whole league. He's been impressive all year. I don't think he's had many duds all year. I can't remember of any, and they lead the league in point differential, so they're just blowing teams out week in and week out. Um, the other guy, I don't know if he made the top 10, but I mean, he had a bounce back performance and he needed it in the worst way. Talking about a guy that didn't have his number one wide receiver, and he had a couple rookies out there, um, a couple rookie wide receivers out there. And it makes you think maybe this team should have been playing these rookie wide receivers, because he had by far the best performance of his season this
Yeah.
in week 8 against a stout San Francisco team. I'm talking about C.J. Stroud put up 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and got a big victory against a tough San Francisco team. So,
Mm-hmm.
30 of 39, 77 completion percentage, and like I said, this is with 2 rookie wide receivers. It kind of
Yeah.
makes me think it's been malpractice that they haven't gotten those wide receivers onto the field more, because they had their best offensive showing out of CJ Stroud with 2 rookies out there. So
Agreed.
hopefully this is something that continues going forward, and they can have those 2 rookies out there with Nico Collins, and maybe that team could start to turn things around offensively, because they have been atrocious in the last few weeks. I mean, against Seattle, he didn't even clear 50% completion percentage. So this was a much needed performance by CJ Stroud. It gives his fantasy managers a little bit more confidence in him going forward.
Yeah. Another name that I would like to bring up for the quarterbacks, because he got his team a W, a well needed W, as he was looking to be benched this week. Who am I talking about? Justin
I know.
Fields beat the Cincinnati Bengals by 1 point in a 39-38 game, as he finished out as quarterback 12 with 20.9 fantasy points. So it wasn't the spectacular top 10 finish, but it was been better what we've seen from him the last 2 weeks, to the point where I believe this saves him another week. Well, they're going to be on the bye on week 9, but coming back from the bye, I believe this helps him stay the starter for at least another week or two. I did like what we saw from Justin Fields. They didn't have him in the pocket the whole game. They had him on some, quarterback runs. They got him out the pocket. He looked good dishing it out to the receivers that he did have on the field. So I'm happy to see a top 15 performance from Justin Fields, as he's been getting killed. And I mean killed in the fantasy world, and people doubting him. And he got real personal in the post game presser of how his week been. So I just wanted to shout out Justin Fields for doing his damn thing. The only quarterback that I would like to that or the 2 quarterbacks that threw me off my rankings would be, if I'm looking at it, it would have been Jackson Dart, who I went on the limb to say he would have been I believe my QB3 of the week,
Hmm.
and then Tyler Huntley, who I didn't have very highly in my rankings, but came in and did the damn thing. He looked way better than Cooper Cup, who was demoted to
Cooper
QB.
Rush,
Cooper Rush, yes. What I say?
Cooper Cup.
Damn it. So he looked way better than Cooper Rush by far, and that honestly, I had to put my foot where my mouth is. He shut me up, and he got himself a win over the Chicago Bears. I know on the Morning Rush show we talked about this being a Baltimore Ravens game or a Chicago Bears game due to how not well that defense has played and how bad the offense has played. But boy, Tyler Huntley had them abs- actually moving down the field. Zay Flowers actually had a pretty serviceable day, and I was pretty down on the wide receivers in whole. Can we? How did you? Now, obviously, Lamar Jackson comes back next week, projected. It's to come back in week 9, so that throws Tyler Huntley out the window for going. And basically, you just needed him as a week 8 starter. But looking at Jackson Dart, who, and we'll get to the running backs, and we won't go too deep into it. But losing Cam Scatterboo, does that hurt Jackson Dart for the rest of the year?
I mean, how could it not? I mean, not only was he, I mean, he didn't die. Not only is he a really good running back, really good in the red zone, brings a toughness, a aura, excitement to the team. He also is a damn good blocker. I mean, he a lot of times he would blot out the sun. He looks a lot bigger than he actually is when he's blocking because he's not tall, but he's he's wide, so he makes
Yeah,
a big obstacle to get around. But I don't see how he can't hurt him. But I mean, this has been the Giants' season. I mean, they've lost Malik Neighbors, now Cam Scatterboo. Just pray that they are able to keep Dart's knees intact for the rest of the season.
yeah, man,
Um,
it's been
but
tough.
yeah, I mean, but even with Scat going out, he still provided a nice fantasy football day. I think he scored 20 points, depending on your scoring settings. So it should be interesting to see what kind of season he has in this, in the second half, because we still have a whole half of football to go. And I mean, for the most part, they've been in most games. I mean, I think they got blew out basically in the second Philly game. And Philly, for their credit, uh, they showed out in this game. I mean, they kind of got embarrassed the last time they played, so you knew Philly was going to come with some extra sauce in this game, and they did what they had to do. They took care of business. So kudos to them for winning a couple games after losing a couple games to start out.
Yeah, and the last note for the quarterbacks, we're now getting to the part of the league where once again you're hitting these buys. We're seeing injuries at the quarterback spot at a unprecedented rate.
We're
So
seeing some benchings too.
seeing some benchings as well, as we saw Spencer Rattler get benched throughout the towards the end of the or towards the basically the end of the game with
Basically at halftime, I think.
yes, as he wasn't doing good. For Tyler Shook, which pour one out for the big homie. Y'all know how much of a fan I was of Spencer Rattler, but it got to the point where the offense wasn't moving. They weren't doing well. So, yeah, you spend a second round pick on a quarterback. It's going to be time to get him in the game. So I'm not sure what to expect from Tyler Shook, as he has been named the starter going forward. Obviously, hopefully they don't do the whole Indianapolis Colts thing where they cycle back, cycle forward, cycle back. If you're going to go with Tyler Shough, let it just be Tyler Shough for the rest of the season and see what you get from the rookie. But other than that, looking at the QB spot, if we're at the point of the year where you're going to be needing a QB3, I start looking at some of these, no, I won't say top tier guys, but hell, with Tua having a that type of QB1 week, I mean, shoot, I would send out some filler trades if you're needing a QB3 and seeing what the temperature is like on getting your if Tua is on a lower record team, not a great a contending team, I should say. I wouldn't mind going out to get a Tua right now if he can sprinkle in some QB1 type weeks for you. That is a great type of value if you can get him from a for a late second, mid second, just depending on the temperature of how someone feels about him. But let's talk about these tight ends because it was National Tight End Day, and boy, did we get a performance from some guys? I'll tell you that. Tucker Kraft going absolutely stupid with his 7 catches, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns to get you a whopping, just depending on your league settings, 33.3 fantasy points. And I needed every last one in the one league to continue to be 6-2, as I was the highest scoring team of the week. And I had to beat the third highest scoring fantasy team of the week. So shout out to you, Tucker Kraft. Some other good performances we had was Travis Kelsey, tight end two. Oronde Gatson continues to do crazy shit on the football fields, and you know we are all advocates for that, Rocco. Harold Fannin at tight end four, Dallas Goddard at tight end five. Kyle Pitts got himself in the top 10 performances of the week. Mason Taylor, George Kittle, David Njoku, and Jawan Jennings. All of these guys.
Jawan Jennings, the receiver.
Oh my God, I keep doing that. Jawan Johnson.
Fuck that
Mhm.
guy.
Fuck that guy. I keep doing that. My fault, Jawan Johnson. But Jawan Johnson rounds out the top. Oh, I guess him and Gunnar Helm tied. So him and Jawan Johnson and Gunnar Helm both with 10.3 fantasy points, tied for 10. Looking at National Tight Ends Day, which in a way showed out, except for Tyler Warren, who I had in my rankings as hopefully to finish tight end one. He finishes as tight end 12 with Chig. How do we feel about the overall tight end position for the rest of the year? Aronde Gatson makes it extremely fun, especially also Harold Fannin Jr. These rookies, Mason Taylor, all those guys make the tight end position at least more. You have more spots or players at the position to play. I feel like if it wasn't for them, it might be a little bleak, or the tight end position in 2025 might be very top heavy. But we're getting good production from the top level guys, rookie level guys, and some mid level guys. How did you feel about the tight ends of Week 8 or National Tight End Day?
Man, I forgot where I saw this, and shout out to whoever said it, but it makes sense. Um, Somebody was saying that we could look back at in a few years and say this is one of the greatest tight end classes we've ever seen. I mean, you got Tyler Warren at the top. You got Aronde Gatson, who's recently broken out. You have a
Yep.
Harold Fannin, who's been really solid since the beginning of the season, and who's basically the number one option in that passing attack for that team. And you also got some of the other guys like Mason Taylor, who's emerged. I didn't believe in him, but I mean, he keeps producing, you know, you know, fairly consistently when Justin Fields able to complete a pass. He usually has a pretty good game. And you even got some other guys who've had moments um, that have a lot of talent that could emerge eventually, like
Yeah.
Alaya Arroyo, and also Terrence Ferguson, who's made some plays when he's been given opportunities. And we're leaving out the guy that was drafted highest amongst all of them, Colston Loveland, who
Yeah.
hasn't really gotten his shot yet. But when you look at all of the tight ends that came out in this class, it's just the volume of them and how quickly they've either broken out or had some nice moments that give you hope for their future. So the tight end class is looking basically better than ever. You know, in addition to the Travis Kelsey, who's still going out there and damn near getting 100 yards. You got George Kittle, who had a pretty good day on his holiday, and Brock Bowers, hasn't even much played this year, and it's still been a
Chris
really
Moore.
good tight end season.
And hey, giving you some stats for the last 4 weeks, from week 5 to week 8. And we have Aronde Gatson as tight end 4, averaging 15.6 fantasy points. We have Tyler Warren at tight end 6, averaging 14.7. And we have Harold Fannin Jr. at tight end 9, averaging 13.1 fantasy points. That is 3 rookies in your top 10. If that doesn't give you some joy or some fantasy hopes that the tight end position is in good hands going forward, boy, I don't know what else to tell you. Especially in tight end premium leagues, that makes it even more fun. And when you're looking at, you could have got a Rondé Gatson in the late third, early fourth, even
Mm-hmm.
or even on waiver wire.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if the league was only 3 rookie rounds, I mean, it's making me a little bit more sick that I don't have even more Rondé Jackson, if I'm being quite honest with you. So looking at the other performances from week 8, and it's hard not to let's look past the top 10 guys. You still had the top past it like 9.3, 8, 7.7. Those are decent weeks, not spectacular weeks, but any points I feel like from the tight end position, especially if you start getting into the tight end premiums, those 7 turns into 10s into the 11s of the world. So we still had Charlie Kohler catching a touchdown before Mark Andrews. We all cried a little bit. I know we all wanted that. I know when I saw a big fella rumbling, tumbling, bumbling into the touchdown, I thought it was Mark Andrews, but no, it's fucking Charlie Kohler. That does absolutely nothing for me. Gunnar Helm did his thing. Kate Otten was somewhere middle of the pack. It was a cool, but Baker Mayfield also then had another week of not looking that great against a very mid New Orleans Saints defense. And then a couple of some other guys, Evan Ingram, tight end 17. But you spoke to him a little bit. Colston Loveland as tight end 20 with 6.8 fantasy points. I'm not sure. I mean, if we keep it honest, Ben Johnson said that he didn't think Caleb Williams played badly in week 8. And I don't think box score wise, neither did Caleb. I don't think he did play poorly. He didn't have a spectacular game, right? But it wasn't nothing. If I'm looking at it, it wasn't nothing that you write home about, especially against the Baltimore Ravens defense. Loveland went for 3 catches and 38 receiving yards, and Jake Tungus had more fantasy points than Colston Loveland. So if I'm taking a look at some of these lower level guys, or if I'm looking at some lower level guys, shoot, Pat Firemove returned back to holy grounds, and he only had 4.3 fantasy points against the Green Bay Packers.
What about
Dalton,
Ferguson?
yeah, Jake Ferguson laid an egg too. Basically, all of the Dallas Cowboys, we just didn't look good against the Denver Broncos defense. Go figure, right? So we had some other guys. Zach Ertz had a low week. Yeah, it was a very interesting one. We saw Ben Sinnott get some burn and get his one lonely catch. I'm not sure if he will ever be a thing, but man, if we are keeping any type of eyes on the trade deadline, I want to see what happens with Mark Andrews because it does look like Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kohler could end up being their guys at that spot. It doesn't look like Mark Andrews is still getting
Mm.
some love, but hopefully Lamar Jackson brings that back. But what do you say about any last notes on the tight end group from week 8?
Yeah, I think Kohler's he's just a blocking guy. I mean, he's been there a long time. If it was going to happen for him, it would have happened already. I don't think he's much of a receiving threat. Likely is the guy that he has to worry about. So if they want to, elevate Likely, then maybe they ship out Mark Andrews. Mandrews I think would slide into a lot of teams' number one tight end.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different places. I mean, how good would he look? I don't know, like on the Rams to be, to be like, what you call that, like kind of uh, be a mentor for Terrence Ferguson. As he learns the league. So I would advocate for it. I think it would, improve his value because with the leap that Zay Flowers has taken, you know, Mark Andrews hasn't had as good of a season. He's had his moments, don't get me wrong, but consistency wise, it hasn't been that great. But I mean, has it really been great for the entire offense since Lamar Jackson's been out? No, we don't know. I mean, we know the offense is going to get better when Lamar Jackson gets out there, so it's hard to really judge that team until he comes back. But I mean, kudos to them because they needed a win in the worst way,
First way.
and I was kind of surprised that they didn't put Lamar Jackson out there as quickly as possible because, that's Russian roulette rolling Tyler Huntley out there when in a must-win game. But he got the win and he bought Lamar Jackson a little bit more time. And the Baltimore Ravens play on Thursday, so hopefully we see Lamar Jackson out there because I desperately need him in a few places.
And this last note of the tight ends, if you're looking to acquire a tight end right now and you don't need a top level guy because the Tucker Crafts of the world, the Tyler Warrens of the world, the Trey McBrides of the world, they're going to cost you, right? But if you're a contender and you're needing a tight end, what's stopping you from sending out a second for Dallas Goddard right now, who had a really big week? Or a late second. What's stopping you from going to acquire Hunter Henry for a third, who is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, tight end 8 on the season right now? What's stopping you from sending out a late second for Jawan Johnson? You feel me? So now I don't feel like Oronde Gadsden, you're going to get him for a second anymore, especially after a second straight great performance of the week. You
I
might
tried.
to start.
Tried, and everybody told me to go to hell.
Yeah, start signing out them late first, baby. The price of the brick has gone up. So those are the type of guys. True, even a Dalton Kincaid, I feel like you could still theoretically get him for a late second. So these are guys that if you're needing a tight end, feel comfortable about sending the second now, especially in tight end premiums. Those would be the ones that I would go, and you don't have to pay a high price ticket for them. But we'll take a mini break to cut to our good friends at League Champ, where you can win yourself a free NFL jersey by being the number one ranker of the week. Here we go. Do 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 do. Like I just said, win yourself a free NFL jersey by playing League Champ and being the number one ranker. All you have to do is slot your guys where you think they're going to finish in the week. Set those rankings up or enter those rankings in the week 8 competition against other fellow analysts in the community and see if you can be top dog. Once again, with our boy Rocco winning for the third time. Third. Going crazy over there. Let's see if we can knock that off in week 9. But
Man, y'all could come for this jersey, but you're gonna have to beat this team right here. Right now,
yes,
we the
sir.
hottest team in these league champ streets.
Yes, sir. But let's talk about these running backs who also had a very interesting week. Jonathan Taylor continues his it might be his award or it might be his title to take at this point, but he continues his RB1 type 2025 season with 37.4 fantasy points. Oh my goodness. If you have Jonathan Taylor on your team this year, you have to be one of the best contenders in your leagues. And
He did
he,
all of that. He did all of that on 14 touches, 13 snaps.
I'm telling you, as
Yeah.
he had looking at back at week 8, Mister had, like what Rocco said, 12 touches or 12 carries for 153 yards and 2 tutties. What the fuck is going on? This man, somebody please drug this man right now to see what he's on, because Jonathan Taylor's going
Don't do
crazy.
that.
Don't He said don't do that.
No,
But
no, don't wait till the end of the season.
a man who finished almost as a close RB1. He was very, very close. James Cook, go dogs. 33.6 fantasy points, 19 carries, 216 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. To when two wasn't usual, because he actually is most of the time a PPR type running back, because he does get involved in the receiving game. He had no catches. He did all of his damage on the ground against the Carolina Panthers. I had him ranked my wide receiver 4 in the week, and I had a good feeling that he was going to tear Carolina up. I'm so glad that he did. Shout out to James Cook, and they need to keep him featured in that overall offense, because they do well when that does happen.
I don't know. He hasn't had a catch in the past 3 games. I think he's kind of phased out of the passing game. He's basically he's basically used almost exclusively in the running game. So I think that would make him a trade candidate. I don't necessarily always trust those running backs that don't get featured heavily in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that might just, they're still trying to figure things out. Where you still have Khalil Shakir, maybe they're still trying to get Keon Coleman
I,
going,
I think
and
they
then
usually
you
like
have,
Ty Johnson as the pass down back for
you
whatever
know,
reason. It's just dumb. I would just use James Cook for all of those roles, and he would be a Christian McCaffrey level guy at that point.
he does very much have the skill set for it. And then we saw our boy Saquon Barkley have a bounce back week. He did
Yeah,
turn out a little
he
banged
needed
up
that.
in the game where he messed up his hamstring. So hopefully things are good and wheels are up for him into week 9. But Saquon Barkley finished with 33.4 fantasy points, so not too far behind James Cook. And damn near on one of the first touches of the game, took his 70 plus yards. Saquon Barkley gives you that type of upside every single week. I know there were some people selling or panic selling on him because he hasn't given us the production that we were seeing early in 2025. But I feel like that never gave you the reason, or the that should never have given you the thought to just trade him low. Saquon Barkley can be a top 5 running back in any given week when everything is popping for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the game script really was in his favor, because AJ Brown was not active in the game, so they had to rely on him. They had to rely on Devontae Smith more. They had to rely on Dallas Goedert more, and Jalen Hurts had to do his thing as well. So Saquon Barkley RB3 type week in week 8 wasn't any type of surprise. What was a little bit more of a surprise was our boy Brees Hall. But even though it was a lackluster Cincinnati Bengals defense, finishing RB4, 18 carries, 133 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, 32.86 fantasy points. Shout out to Brees Hall for returning back to the good glories of what we know as him as our top, 5 fantasy running back when everything is going in his favor. I think that needs to continue when they can, to be the game script. Getting Brees Hall very much involved into the game, getting getting Justin Fields out of the pocket, not stagnant in the pocket. Getting He doesn't need right now until Garrett Wilson comes back. He can spread around the ball, so that's why Mason Taylor's still having some serviceable weeks, even though he caught his touchdown by Brees Hall. So shout out to Brees Hall, the running back and quarterback. Looking at some other finishes, which we didn't see, I personally didn't see coming. Chase Brown had 12 carries, 73 yards, but 3 catches in the receiving game and 1 touchdown to finish with 25.5. And then our boy RJ Harvey against my Dallas Cowboys, which hurts me to say, he went for 3 tutties, had his breakout rookie game with 24.1 fantasy points. Hopefully, Sean Payton sees that and continues to what and sees what RJ Harvey can do for their overall Broncos offense. J.K. Dobbins did look good too, running that thing, but damn, did RJ Harvey look explosive? What did you think of his performance against my Dallas Cowboys?
Start everybody against the Cowboys weekly.
Do you think? Do you think it would you? Because I know there were some people. Once again, since he wasn't performing early in the season, were selling off their shares of RJ Harvey. What would you confidently buy RJ Harvey right now? I feel like a second would do it.
I don't think anybody's going to give him up for a second. They mostly drafted him in the first, and he just had 3 touchdowns. So um, I'm where I have him. I'm holding. I'm not aggressively buying. If I find an opportunity, I would. But the price is probably going to be a first, um, just because nobody's gonna sell him for a second at this high point. You have to wait for a couple more weeks where he's not used or utilized. And the schedule is toughening up. They've had one of the one of the easiest schedules to start the season, and it's going to tighten up over the second half of the season. So that's something to think about as well. But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Harvey scored the touchdowns, yes, but J.K. Dobbins also had 111 yards on 7.4 yards a clip. So, I mean, that team just did whatever. We're not going to, spoiler alert, we're not going to spoil it, but Troy Franklin also had a career day against the Cowboys as well. So I wouldn't take too much from it. And also just keep in mind that the schedule will toughen up. So um, these may be selling opportunities for you if you want to kind of get out early on some of these guys.
Yeah. And then looking at the rest of that top 10,
Nope. Oh, yeah. Oh, we lost Huncho.
I am back.
There, there he is.
I don't know what the hell happened just now, but I lost connection and it took me out. Sorry about that, y'all.
Now
But
you landed right back in.
no, but we're talking about looking at the rest of these top 10 finishes for the running backs. Devon A. Chain, RB7, Kamani Vidal, who's looking like a true starting running back for the Chargers. RB9, Derrick Henry, he returns back to good graces, but honestly, the game script was towards him. They really wasn't going to do much with Tyler Huntley, even though he had a competent start over very much better than Cooper Rush. And then we have another sleeper of the week, Isaiah Davis, which he didn't really do. He had an overall good game. He didn't kill it on the ground. Well, I won't say kill it, right? He didn't ever had 100 receiving yards. Oh, he didn't have 100 rushing yards, but he did have 7 carries, 65 rushing yards, and then he went for 5 catches and 44 receiving yards. Damn. PPR running back type complete game. And honestly, didn't see that coming. It seemed like both him and Brees Hall were very much involved, and they needed to be because Josh Reynolds is on our IR. Garrett Wilson isn't playing, so you basically had
Mhm.
Mason Taylor and Tyler Johnson. That's another name when we get to the receivers that had himself a very adequate day. And it looks like that's the recipe that they need to cling on to. Brees Hall, Justin Fields, Isaiah Davis, Mason Taylor, and then once Garrett Wilson comes back, get him back into the groove. But I think things look good for them when they're spreading the ball around and getting everybody involved into that overall offense and getting creative. That's one of the biggest gripes for me for them has been the play calling of their offensive coordinator. I don't think it's been anything spectacular. I think he actually hasn't played to their strengths, and that's why they have struggled as much as they have. But we saw them come out and put up 30-some plus points against a Cincinnati Bengals, which Cincinnati Bengals defense, no, they're not the top tier defensive group of the NFL, but to put up 30 points where as an overall offense you looked pretty bad and had trouble putting up any type of yardage to begin with is a very positive sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to design any kind of offense when Fields would go weeks without being able to complete a pass. So, that goes into it as well. But good thing. Glad that that they were able to kind of get the run game going, because that's the formula. If they can get the run game going, it'll make life easier on Justin Fields. Just hopefully they can keep some of that success going against tougher matchups and not just kind of run up on the Bengals, and some of the softer matchups. So that team still, to me, is a dumpster fire. I would probably be trying to sell some of those pieces off of a big game, because I don't know if that formula for success is going to be able to be continued, in tougher matchups.
And we had a very slow week from some of the top tier guys from the running back group. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson did not put up solid performances from week 8, but a couple other underrated guys did. Their names speak of Samaje Perine, who had 9 carries, 94 yards, and one tutty to go along with one catch. Woody Marks had 11 carries, 62 yards to go along with 4 catches, 15.4 fantasy points. Jeremy Nichols had 11.8. Tank Bigsby, with Saquon Barkley get a little banged up, showed a little bit of pump pump pow, and had 10.4 fantasy points.
Yeah, y'all might want to put in some claims for Tank Bigsby,
I'm telling
because
you.
Saquon Barkley did pull his groin. They said he's going to be all right, but it's not like they would tell us if he was seriously injured.
And before we move on to the final group of the wide receivers, I had to talk about Chuba Hubbard because look, hearing from the comments of Dave Canales, it sounds like
It's Jova.
it's over, man. They're talked about. They are happy or they are very appreciative of what Chuba has done for the organization, but they can't. They can't act like Rico hasn't been playing some good ball, and what that means is that boy Rico getting more touches, man. It's Chuba, you had a good run. Hell, we thought you were going to be RB1 for the rest of the year. That's why you can't get hurt, because there's always a player that could end up showing out and you lose your job. We see it every year with
Mm.
David Singletary last year. He gets hurt. What happens? Tyrone Tracy shows out. He takes his job. This year, to speak on it, now with Cam Scatterboo, he wasn't playing bad, but now he gets hurt. Tracy is back as a RB1. He's one of the running backs that I would be out sending a second for right now, as you need to go if you need a running back, because he's going to get majority of the touches to get sprinkled on with Devin Singletary. But Tracy becomes a very solid RB2 for the remainder of the year.
Carolina should have just did the obvious thing. Chuba Hubbard has been basically terrible since he's come back. 2.6 yards per carry on 13 touches. So he did nothing with his touches. I'm surprised he basically not double, but came close to it. Rico Dotto only 8 touches, and he got 54 yards to Chuba Hubbard's 34 yards. So Chuba Hubbard is going to take a back seat. Rico Dowdle, I said 65 to 35. He might be getting 75% of the touches going forward. So Chuba Hubbard is a must sit going forward until he shows that he's able to get you some fantasy points. And Rico Dowdle is going to continue his ascent like he did when Chuba Hubbard was hurt. So you can feel free to put Rico Dowdle back into the game. They have the Saints coming up in a couple weeks, and he might get his third 200 yard game of the season. Before we move before we move on, I had one more dichotomy I wanted to kind of break
Bring it
down.
on.
Nick Chubb, as compared to Woody Marks, this is another kind of Rico Dowdle to Chuba Hubbard kind of dichotomy, with
Agreed.
Woody Marks getting 62 yards on his 11 carries to Nick Chubb getting 56 yards on 17 carries. So obviously, Woody Marks is much more efficient. Hopefully, the team sees it the same way, and Woody Marks can continue his ascent, because Nick Chubb is super dusted, and against any legitimate defense, he's not going to do much of anything. So feel free to let Woody Marks continue his ascent and leave Nick Chubb for the grinded out yards and maybe some goal line carries.
And one last note, actually, for the running back group, as we were speaking on Chuba Hubbard and a paid league that I am in, I have recently traded away Chuba as I saw the writing on the wall and needed to make a move for my RB2 spot. I have Jameer Gibbs as my prime starter. This is in a one quarterback type league. So I went out and traded Chuba, a 2026 late second, and Tootin for Javante Williams and Jalen Coker. And honestly, it had to be. Well, I first sent out Hubbard and or Chuba Hubbard and a second to get Javante Williams. That wasn't enough for him to get that ball rolling for Javante, as Javante was one of his best running backs to start the season. Javante Williams is RB5, so I can understand that. So for he sent in a counter to include Tootin. Do I think long term Tootin is going to be good? Yes. Short term wise, as I am one of the better teams in this said league, I wanted to get me someone with good production, which I thought Chuba Hubbard was going to give me for the rest of the year before getting hurt. But that went out the window very quickly with Rico Dowdle's 2025 success. So I needed to pivot. I wanted to pivot to go get me a Javante Williams, who I think, even though the Dallas Cowboys didn't do well this past week, he still had a top 10 running back finish. So that's
Right.
my little trade note that I've done on Chuba as of late to get those ball rolling. If you can move Chuba, I'd do that right now. Pair him with a 2026 second and see if you can go get a Javante Williams, or hell, I'll even start looking at going sending out a second to get yourself a Rico Dowdle, because Chuba it's a wrap. There's no more RB1 performances coming, at least for this year, unless Rico gets hurt, because they now have already actually found something in Rico, who I like as a Dallas Cowboy. He's a very tough runner. He's just a great football player. He just shows up and doesn't do much talking. Just smash
It's
you through
over.
six.
It's over for Rico. He's
It's over.
done.
It's over for Chuba, for sure, for sure. But let's end this recap with the wide receivers. And if you made it this far, like, share, and subscribe. Join our free Discord, which you can find in the YouTube description. You can find us on Twitter or at however you call it, TikTok. And we are dropping shorts. We shoot every Sunday. We're the Morning Rush Show at either between 8 to 9. We got to see what time we're going at this week. But it's potentially looking still at 9, but we'll.
9.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. Looks like we are going to be shooting at 9 the morning rush this Sunday, and then we shoot either Tuesday or Wednesday during midweek. So keep tapping in with us. We're going to keep bringing the vibes, and thank you to everyone that does show support to your good fellas here at Fourth and Fantasy. But let's talk about these wide receivers, man. And honestly, your wide receiver one of the week brings me a lot of joy. And Rocco did say you got to take it with a grain of salt because it was against the Dallas Cowboys defense, and we have not looked good all year. But Troy Franklin finishes as your wide receiver one with 6 catches, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which resulted in 26.9 fantasy points. Love it, love it, love it, love it. As y'all all know, we are very big Troy Franklin fans over here, and me personally, wanted to see him have a year two type leap. And it seems like him and Bo Nix have found that college chemistry that we wanted them to have last year. And whether it's Cortland Sutton being tied in, I'm glad he's jumped over Marvin Mims, even though he does still get involved. But Marvin Mims is more of their gadget guy, and now they're using Troy Franklin on true routes, having him running a true route tree. So I think the rest of the year for Troy Franklin is positive. I think long term is looking positive. Shout out to Troy Franklin. Keep doing your thing. When we're looking at the rest of these rankings or the rest of these performances from week 8, the receivers, Rasheed Rice, wide receiver 2, Michael Pittman, wide receiver 3, Jamar Chase, wide receiver 4, Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 5. Him and Tua were a nice pair against the Atlanta Falcons. Wide receiver 6, Lab McConkey. Khalil Shakir, which we called on the Morning Rush show. We told, I forget who asked, should they start Shakir this week? And we said yes. Feel good about starting Khalil Shakir as he is the yak god.
If you need 10 points, he'll get you 10 points. If you need 20 points, he's going to get you 10 points. Unless he scores a touchdown, then he could get you that 20 points.
You hear me? Listen, we called that one. Hopefully you listen, and hopefully y'all keep tapping in on to the Morning Rush shows. Because if we can actually kept record or kept actual tallies, we've actually hit on a lot of the starting sits that we've given these past couple of weeks for y'all.
Well, I mean, we are the best rankers in the league champ street. So, we know what the hell we're talking about. So, and it's not always what I like about the Morning Rush show. Just to kind of aside, is I like to not just kind of give the advice, but kind of think through the decisions. Because it's not always as easy as I want X player, give me Y player. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and
Agreed.
it's not just I want X, I want Y, um I need max upside, so let me go this way. I feel like I need a safe floor of 10 points because I don't have the toughest matchup this week. I'm playing the last place team. I just need to make sure I get points. I'm playing the number one team. I need 30 points. Who can possibly get me there? So I love just kind of thinking through the lineup decisions and kind of talking it out. That's what's fun for me.
Hell yeah, and I love to hear that. Rocco hit that shit right on the head, to be honest with you. Looking at the other performances of the week, we have to round out the top 10. Roma Dunze, 18.4 fantasy points from week 8. Xavier Hutchinson, which we did not see coming, which I didn't see coming. I won't speak on Rocco here, but I know I damn well didn't have him
Get that man off my fucking TV screen.
He had 17.9 fantasy points, finishing with 5 catches, 69 yards, and 1 tutty. And then to round out that top 10, which we all left out for dead at this point, but due to a Calvin Austin injury, he played a lot more snaps. Roman Wilson, who you probably could find on waiver wires. Yes, even in Dynasty, he was on. I actually picked him up for
fucking Roman Wilson.
I put in a waiver wire claim in a paid league today for Roman Wilson. And hell, at this point, you're gonna need all the help that you can get. And it was never like for me personally, I did not like Roman Wilson. It's just that when you're with the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're under Arthur Smith, who we have as the number one most wanted fantasy terrorist out there, it's hard to project how or each week what offensive playmaker is going to really hit or have consistent production. But Roman Wilson showed out for what he has done for majority of the season, finishing wide receiver 10. But looking outside that top 10, T Mac, Tetsuya McMillan, 69.9 fantasy points.
Oh, and we have lost Huncho, but I think he was talking about Tetaroa McMillan, who, man, he's a fun player. He's the wide receiver one. I think Huncho's back in. There he is. We were just kind of going over Tetaroa
Yes, Tetsuya
McMillan.
McMillan
Tetaroa.
he had 7 catches, 99 receiving yards. Like I said, 69.9 fantasy points.
Giggity.
Go ahead.
Giggity.
Giggity. And then looking at some other guys right behind him who were fairly close, DK Metcalf, Keshawn Booty. But let's talk about Shamir DK. And yes, I said his last name right this time. Y'all ain't going to catch it,
Rhymes
boy.
with bike.
Yeah, it literally, once again, you can't be changing up pronunciation rules.
Rhymes with bike.
But as my good brother Chev let me know, he is Nigerian and they have their own pronunciation. So shout out to Chev. His last name is DK, and he had 7 catches, 93 receiving yards, and to go along with 16.4 fantasy points. It's starting to feel like, and I asked Chev earlier in the week, is DK actually a thing for the Titans? And it's looking like he very much is, a little bit more than AO Manor. And I also hit that kind of on the head.
Heyo.
When someone asked, do they go Tremere DK or do they go AO Manor? And I say go DK. That's crazy for me to say because I was a very big Elijah brain fart.
Arroyo. No?
Elijah from he was on the Florida Gators too, that we were high on.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's it's done. It's over
He's
for him.
he's gonna trickle down. So, but I would like to say another person that I said that would have a solid week, and he's also, his name has been mentioned on the trade block, or he's been mentioned to be more likely traded than his fellow wide receiver counterpart Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed had 9 catches, 75 receiving yards, 14.5 fantasy points. I told y'all Shaheed could have a decent week. I told y'all to have him in your lineup, and he ended up having a very solid week against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Hopefully y'all were listening.
I'm interested to see if they can kind of get him involved in the game plan going forward. Maybe it's a Rattler thing, maybe it's a Coach Kellen thing, but they didn't throw the deep ball as much as I would like. I think they need to kind of touch, some of those longer passes, touch on some of that play action game. I know we don't have much of a running game, but I don't think the play action is necessarily always contingent on having an elite running game. But you got to get Rashid Shaheed involved, in the deeper quadrants of the field. We all saw what he did against the Giants, and that's the only game we've won this year. So hopefully, I know Shuck has a pretty big arm. Rattler doesn't have a bad arm either, like by no means. That's why I say I don't know if it was a Rattler thing, just being conservative, or if it was a Coach Kellen Moore thing, also being conservative. But somehow they need to figure out a way to dial up some deep shots, because that is the way to unlock Rashid Shaheed. And Olave, he's not a bad deep threat either. He can beat you in all quadrants of the field. But until they do that, I think we're going to continue to basically get shut out in games.
And to wrap up the wide receiver group, I wanted to mention some not high level or just mid tier names or even low tier names that had a very serviceable week. We have Josh Downs back to having very solid, not being injured. That we love to see over here at Forfeit Fantasy. He had 12.9 fantasy points. Christian Watson returned back to the football field.
That was nice to see.
It was nice to see. 4 catches, 85 yards to give you 12.5 fantasy points. Shout out to you. He still, it looks like he still is the height, speed specimen that can stretch the field even after tearing ligaments. Wonderful to see. Our boy Pat Bryant got some love against the Dallas Cowboys
Mhm.
as he got his first NFL touchdown. Only 2 catches, but he made them count. Got his first NFL touchdown and 40 receiving yards. Jalen Noel had 5 catches, 63 yards, and I believe he actually had a touchdown that got called back. Could be wrong, but him
The
and Jalen.
beautiful. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna say the beautiful thing. He might not have had the counting numbers, but he had the sixth best PFF receiving grade. So I think that portends to him, you know, being on the verge of a breakout. He had a really nice game last week, and he followed up with a solid game and being the sixth ranked PFF receiver this week. So if you got him stashed on Taxi, now is the time to elevate him.
And if you're looking for some wide receiver help, what's stopping you from sending out a third might not do it for Josh Downs, depending on who the owner is, but a second, if you want to take the risk on his injury history, a second could get it done for Josh Downs. Hell, a third for Christian Watson, who has come off a ligament issue from last year. I'm not sending a second for Christian Watson, but with that performance, it shows that he can give you a serviceable week. What I would go out and see what a third can get you for a Christian Watson, as people may label him a injury riddled player.
Mm-hmm.
It might be. I would go see what Jalen Noel is. The people talking about him. Honestly, I still feel like you could theoretically still get him for a third, but maybe people want to see or hold because Christian Watson is looking like or Christian Kirk is looking like he could be back into the fold this following week. Honestly, I hope not. I hope they do a Tyler Lockett type situation where we saw him get released from the Tennessee Titans and sign with a different team. Hopefully, Christian Kirk can potentially do something else in that same nature because I think at this point you're holding the younger guys back from shining. You saw what Higgins did. You saw he looked good. You saw what Noel looked good and the teammates. Let these young guys show out and grow with CJ Stroud.
And a guy that he's kind of a running joke. His game's not a joke, but it's been kind of a running joke for the last few weeks. Man, Kayshon Boutte has
Booty.
4 touchdowns in his last 3 weeks and well over 200 yards. So, he may be quietly assuming. I could whisper it here, but he might be quietly assuming the wide receiver one role on that team. I know they still have Stephon Diggs, and he gets more targets, but Bootie's been really really great at scoring the past 3 weeks, and he's got 5 touchdowns on the season. And quietly, if he can increase the pace, he might get to 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, which would be awesome for a guy that many people picked up off of waivers this offseason.
And at this point, I don't see a third because someone would probably just hold him at that rate of rather than sending out a third. Would you feel comfortable sending out that second to go get you a
I,
Kashawn Booty?
I think the move here, and I think you can make it happen if you do this, is to send out a second and try to get Booty and a third back. And if you can get that third pushed out to 2027, if the manager's not scared about, paying up that 27 league safe, which most leagues do, if he's not scared to you know buy into 2027, then that may be the move. Even if you can get a fourth thrown in, I think, I don't think his price is a straight second yet. Because there is still some of that late round draft pick in a guy that's just only recently broke out stink still on him. But I think if you send out a second, you can get booty and some draft compensation back. I think that might be the move.
I like it, and that is some advice from our good guy Rocco, and that is our episode tonight of recapping Week 8 performances. As it was BYE-Megadon, a lot of injuries so far this season you're having to deal with as as a fantasy owner. But we're still on the road to fantasy championship, to the fantasy playoffs. We are still your fantasy playbook to more championship wins. And Rocco, where are we the land of?
We are a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos. Bye, Dynasty Sickos. Let's get some wins.
Let's get some more wins. Like, share, and subscribe. Once again, if you can find us on Twitter, TikTok, on Blue Sky, hell, you name it, we're there. You can join us on our morning rush shows for all your latest and toughest start and sit questions this Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we shoot every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the week, to be released the next following day. We have a free Discord that you're able to tap into right now in the YouTube description, and you're also able to download League Champ, where if you are the number one ranker, you have the chance to win a free NFL jersey. And I repeat, a free NFL jersey of your choice. You just got to come out and beat us. And we had a very strong week, fourth in fantasy, top 3 ranking, and our boy Rocco here finishing as the number one ranker for the 3rd time this NFL season. And we're not stopping. We're going to keep bringing y'all our takes. We're going to keep the vibes coming. Rocco, do you have anything for the people before we get out of here tonight?
Man, come sign up this league safe. It's it's such an easy way to win a free jersey. You got better odds. For the most part, this week we had 14 in there, but some weeks we have 10. Hopefully, it keeps growing and the prizes can get bigger. But not many places you could win. I don't know, what is a jersey run, about $50. Not two places you could win a $50 value. Competing against just 14 people. So it's a great thing, and you can see how you stack up against professionals at ranking. So it's not only let's win a jersey, let's see where I rank in the community. That's the beautiful thing about this app. But as always, if you want direct access to us, the best way to do that is to like, share, and subscribe our content, but also join our completely free Discord, where we give completely free advice and we help you win championships like we do. So join today and be our friend.
And that is our episode. Hope y'all have an amazing rest of your day, night, however you're viewing us, whether it's in your bedroom, bathroom, hell, on the toilet. Hope everyone's having a great rest of your day. Till next time, I'm Honcho, and this is my guy.
Win championships taking a shit. Siriaco, they call me Rocco.
Till next time.